Tonight we walk toward the Franklin expedition, out onto the frozen sea. The year is 1845, and the far edge of the Canadian Arctic is settling into a long blue dusk. Two wooden ships lie ahead of us, held fast in the white. For 170 years, the world will misread what happened here. Fortunes will be spent searching the wrong water. And all that time, the people who lived on this ice will already know the answer. We are going to walk into their winter, slowly, and listen. No maps yet, no conclusions. Just the sound of runners on snow, the creak of rigging stiff with frost, and the low orange of a lantern swinging somewhere ahead. Come in out of the wind. Let the cold settle around you. The story waiting here is older and kinder than the one you were told. Keep your steps slow. There is no hurry in a place this old. Breathe out and watch the air turn to frost. Let the world fade in around you. The light out here has no edges. Snow and sky meet in the same pale grey, and the horizon simply stops existing. Underfoot, the sea is stone. Somewhere below that stone lies water so cold it barely moves. The two ships were named Erebus and Terror. Strange, heavy names for vessels meant to find a shortcut through the top of the world. Aboard them, 129 men are waiting for a thaw that comes late, or never. They do not know it yet, but nearly all of them are already living inside the last chapter of their lives. And out on the surrounding land, unseen from the decks, other people are watching. This is their country. They have crossed it for centuries. Remember them as we walk. The whole truth of this story rests with them. The wind does not roar here. It only sighs across the ice and then goes still. Step closer to the hull. Frost has grown on the black timber in soft feathers. Ropes hang from the frozen yards like stiff cords, ringing faintly when the wind moves them. Inside, oil lamps burn low. There is the smell of tallow, damp wool, and tinned meat warmed over a small stove. Some men write letters they may never send. Someone tunes a small instrument. A ship's cat threads between crates of canned provisions stacked toward the ceiling. Above the ice, the aurora unrolls in slow green ribbons, and no one on deck speaks, because nothing feels loud enough to say. This is an ordinary Arctic evening in 1845. Nothing has gone wrong yet. The disaster is still months away, folded quietly into the season ahead. For now, hold on to this hour. When the lamps are lit, the men are warm, and the ice outside is only ice. Outside, the temperature falls far below anything a body was made to hold. Now walk backward with me a little, into how they came to be here. For centuries, Europe dreamed of a passage, a sea road threading over the top of North America, from Atlantic to Pacific. Interest surged again in 1818, and Britain poured ships and reputations into finding it. In May 1845, Sir John Franklin sailed from England with Erebus and Terror, both reinforced against ice, both stocked to last 3 years. He was 59, an experienced Arctic hand, carrying the hopes of an empire that believed such a passage could simply be taken. They stopped in Greenland. Whalers saw them one last time in Baffin Bay that summer. Then the two ships turned west into the maze of islands and channels, and the sea closed behind them like a door. From that moment, no European would see them alive again. The country expected news within the year. 2 years passed with no word, and back in England, quiet worry hardened slowly into dread. The land they entered is not built for hurry. This is a shattered world of low islands, shifting straits, and pack ice that can pin a ship for years without asking permission. King William Island sits near the heart of it, a flat expanse of gravel and wind. To the west of it, the ice comes grinding down from the pole and rarely lets go. We know from a note later found in a stone cairn that Franklin's ships became locked in that ice in September 1846. They waited through one winter, then a second. The thaw that should have freed them never fully arrived. Sir John Franklin himself died on the 11th of June, 1847, a date written in the survivor's own hand. By the spring of 1848, the ice still held, the food was turning bad, and the men made a decision that would end almost all of them. They chose to walk. Think of a ship the size of a house, gripped by ice and unable to move an inch. On the 22nd of April, 1848, the survivors abandoned Erebus and Terror on the ice. The note in the can tells us this plainly, some 24 already dead, the rest, around 105, setting out on foot toward a distant river to the south. Picture that departure, men in wool and leather, dragging heavy wooden boats, mounted on sledges across broken ice, hauling silver cutlery and books they could not eat. Behind them, the two ships stood empty, masts still raised, waiting for a crew that would not return. The land ahead offered almost nothing, and here is where the European record simply ends, with a line of men walking south into the snow and vanishing from their own history. But the story does not end here. It only leaves the pages that England was keeping. It continues quietly on the land itself. Every step south took them farther from rescue and closer to a shore that could not feed them. Because the land was never empty, the Inuit of this region were here, living, hunting, moving with the seasons, and they saw. They met some of the last men. They watched others fall. Their accounts, gathered by outsiders over the following decades, describe starving strangers moving south along the coast, and, most hauntingly, men who walked and fell as they walked, dropping where they stood. The evidence strongly suggests these were Franklin's crew in their final days. The Inuit remembered where the ships had been. They remembered where one had gone down. They spoke of a great vessel crushed and settling into the water off the coast, and of another lost farther south. This knowledge was not vague. It was specific, place-named, and carefully kept. It would be passed from voice to voice for generations, waiting for a world ready to hear it. They knew this coast the way you know the rooms of your own home, in the dark. And the world was not ready. In 1854, the explorer John Ray met Inuit who described the lost men and even the terrible truth that some, at the very end, had turned to cannibalism to survive. He carried it home. What happened next is the real wound in this story. Rather than thank the messengers, Britain attacked them. Lady Franklin, the commander's widow, worked to discredit the account. Charles Dickens, the most famous writer of the age, published essays insisting the Inuit could not be trusted, that British officers would never do such things. So the testimony was buried under pride. The one source that was accurate was declared the one source you could ignore. And so the search went on for decades in the wrong places, guided by everything except the people who had actually been there. Hold that thought. It is the hinge the whole story turns on. Pride, it turns out, is a poor compass, and it pointed the searchers wrong for generations. A few outsiders did listen. In the 1860s, an American named Charles Francis Hall did something almost no one else had tried. He lived among the Inuit for years, learning their language, eating their food, traveling with them. Two Inuit interpreters, remembered as Tukulito and Abia Bing, translated hundreds of pages of testimony for him. Elders pointed to places on the land and said, "Here and here." One man told Hall that he and others had actually boarded one of the ships before it sank. These were not legends drifting free of fact. They were eyewitness reports, cross-checked, consistent, tied to real coastlines. Earlier still, the explorer McClintock had heard the same shape of story. One ship wrecked off King William Island, another lost at a place the Inuit named. Everything needed to find the ships had already been spoken aloud. The world simply refused to read the map of memory. He wrote it all down, patiently, believing that memory could be evidence if only someone listened. Now the evening of this story begins to fall. The years pass, then the decades. Expeditions come and go, British and American, spending fortunes on ships and sledges and later sonar. They search the grand, obvious channels that their theories preferred. They dig, they dredge, they map, and the ice keeps its secret. Because they are, again and again, looking where the documents told them to look instead of where the people had told them to look. A century slips by, then most of another. The Franklin expedition becomes a kind of ghost story, the great vanishing, the empire swallowed by white. Books are written, songs are sung, a few bodies are found frozen in the gravel and studied with care. But the two ships themselves stay hidden exactly as they were, resting in shallow Arctic water, holding still through winter after winter after winter. The answer was never far away. It was simply never where the confident maps insisted it must be. But memory is patient. In the 20th and 21st centuries, researchers finally did the simplest thing. They listened again. An Inuit historian named Louis Kamukak spent much of his life gathering the old stories from his own elders and matching them to the land. Modern search teams, working with Inuit knowledge alongside sonar and small boats, narrowed their attention to the waters the oral accounts had always named. The clues were old, but they had never stopped pointing. A great ship off King William Island, another to the south near shallow bays and gravel shores. For the first time, the searchers treated the Inuit map not as folklore, but as evidence, precise, tested, and true. The world had spent well over a century catching up to what a handful of families had simply never forgotten. And then, in a single September, the water gave one of them back. Kamukak worked for decades, name by name, story by story, until the old words lined up with the sea. On the 2nd of September 2014, in the eastern part of Queen Maud Gulf, west of a small island the Inuit had long linked to a sunken ship, HMS Erebus appeared on a sonar screen, whole, resting upright in shallow water, plain as day. 2 years later, in September 2016, the second ship was found. A local Inuit named Sami Kogvik told a search crew that years earlier he had seen a wooden pole standing out of the ice in a bay to the south. They followed his account. In Terror Bay, roughly 100 kilometers from where the theories had placed her, HMS Terror lay almost perfectly preserved. Masts standing, hatches closed, the cold holding her like a held breath. Both ships were found not by defying the Inuit accounts, but by finally trusting them. They rested where the stories always said. After more than a century and a half in the dark, both hulls had been quietly waiting all along. And this is the quiet turn at the center of it all. For 170 years, the ships were called lost. But they were never truly lost. They were only unlistened to. The people of this land had held their location in memory the entire time, passed carefully from grandparent to grandchild, across a span longer than any single life. The great discovery of our century was not sonar, or diving, or new machinery. It was humility. The truth was never missing, only ignored. Two ships spent all those decades exactly where the Inuit always said, waiting under the ice not to be found, but to be believed. Everything the empire needed had been offered freely in the first years, by the first witnesses, and turned away at the door. The Arctic kept faith with the people who knew it. The record just took a long time to catch up. Say it softly to yourself, and let it settle. The answer was offered first, and heard last. So we walk back off the ice the way we came, past the black hull and the frozen ropes, past the low amber lantern still swinging in the dark. The two ships rest below the water now, quiet and nearly whole, exactly where the first voices placed them. Above them stretches the same long blue dusk that opened this walk. The same wind, the same patient, listening land. Nothing here was ever truly lost. It was only waiting to be believed. Rest now, the ice keeps its watch, and out on the frozen sea, the truth lies exactly where it always did. Somewhere out there, under the same cold stars, two ships hold their long, quiet vigil.